Hey everyone, it's Norm from Tested here at Wonderfest 2023. And I'm joined by Kevin Hoppert. Kevin, so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And you are the builder of this incredible diorama, a recreation of the Death Star II port, where the Falcon goes in and they do the incredible sequence blowing up the Death Star II.
And what's interesting is I actually represented all three views that you see in the movie, so I can do Wedge coming out, and I'll show you some of that. And I can do Millennium Falcon coming in, that sort of thing.
All right, so tell me about the journey of making this. Did you start off with scale? What was your starting process?
The funny story is I actually was in a Bed Bath & Beyond that was closing 15 years ago. And they had this 6-foot rack made out of metal, and I'm thinking Death Star in my head.
That's what connects you. That's
tunnel.
Yeah.
So I kept that under wraps. It was $25. I kept it for like 5 years. And I was also a computer engineer for 30 years. So I'm thinking, wow, I could do math. This is just a math project. So it's like playing pool. It's all angles and just getting all the 3D angles right. So yeah, this is completely scratch built and kit bashed. It's different than doing the actual studio scale where you find all the parts. This is actually these were all hand cut, took 6 months. And in the end, it was just angles that had to work out in the end. So
it was a lot.
Yeah, I was going to use balsa like the movie, but it needed to be portable. So I cleaned out a plastic rack.
Got it, okay.
But in the end, yeah, it was like 3 little chop saws set up.
Yeah.
Sawing in union all the parts for like 3 months.
I can see that. I can see where the work, because this conical shape.
So this wasn't so much about, again, finding the parts. This was actually getting it to the right, in this scale, thinking in 3D.
Yes.
Because there's actually a tunnel portion that goes with this that I didn't bring, where you can look down the shaft and see all the lights and everything. And
here?
Yeah, and that's where
or underneath?
Yeah, and the ships will eventually go in there, and then you can look in from the front, so it's completely 3D without 3D printing.
And it's you built this, it ended up being 1/44th scale.
1/44th, yeah.
Which I know there are plenty of model kits.
The ships are available.
Exactly, you get a
Falcon.
Because
I believe I calculated the original port studio scale to be like 1/100th, 1/98th.
Okay.
Well, there's an EFX Falcon that's in that scale, but nothing really else. But you can 3D print that now.
No, you want to have the whole thing, the scene.
This was the fun part. So building the ships will just be filling in the fun.
Exactly. And really, would you say the bulk of the work was this port structure?
The bulk of the work was this, and finding in this scale things, because I couldn't use ceiling tile; it was too big. So, for instance, these are from model railroad tracks. It's flipped over where you put it over like a bridge.
Yeah.
These are the little paint strainers you put on top of your paint can. So I cleaned out like all the Home Depots in my area. And people were like, what are you doing? Just don't worry about it. And these were actually all from like gutter guards that you plug into your gutter. So
I see.
I chopped them all up and,
Yeah, well, it has a the contrast here is so wonderful, the paint finish. I mean, I see it in the tower construction, the fins that you have, the kind of like the gantry, the system, subsystems. It all looks like it's a Death Star being built.
Yeah, and the surface is now like 95% accurate to the limited reference we have on it. But basically, I was also being an engineer, it's all modular. So if you want to do, for instance, like Wedge coming out with the X-Wing, it's this view. But if you want to represent what the normal view was, again, I think modularly because I was an engineer, this is now the default view, like when the Millennium Falcon was approaching. And the towers in the back actually were part of this tower set. So in the end, this is just an elaborate base for Jason's towers.
Yeah. And the negative space is as it was in the reference.
It's pretty much as it was. There's still a little work to do in the back corner.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a work in progress yet, but yeah, as far as the surface, everything's fairly accurate at this point.
That's something I think, the shot, you're focusing your view so much on the port, you don't think about how sparsely laid out the panels
when it's sitting on the base, the trick with this one was more just thinking in the 3D of, this has to be this way, that has to be that way, and line up, and it has to line up with the proper tubing in the tunnel, essentially. So.
Yeah. Tell me about the color, because this is such an iconic, striking color for
I spent another 6 months, 10 years ago, going through figuring out different variants. So I had all sorts of color swatches painted up, and in the end, somebody told me that actually they were using like the paint for the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know if that's true or not.
International Orange.
I called them and they were like, well, you can buy it like 55-gallon drums because that's all we sell it in. So I said, yeah, I don't need. So I just did a lot of off-the-shelf stuff, color mix, and I ended up using just like a duplicolor filler primer.
Oh, it does have like a filler primer.
And
I've seen that.
with the different lighting I experimented with, you can actually get more the orangey color or the more cherry red type colors. So it actually was the best one I found that was close.
Wow. And here you have some photos of
that's all the different views that I came up with.
Where it is, yeah, I can see now.
So there was a base. You'll see in reference. There's a base shot of the overhead, but it's missing corners. Mm-hmm. So like I said, this is a general corner, but then you can swap it out with the wedge, which I think is more interesting because it's got the little tower and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then literally this whole thing is just chunked together in modules that lock like a puzzle.
Do you ever plan to lock it into place so you can display this off angle?
I'm going to actually magnetize the whole surface.
Okay.
Because you can buy magnetic tape that's real thin, so I'll magnetic the whole thing.
So you can display it at different angles.
Yeah. I'm still toying with maybe mounting it on the wall, like or angled up, which would
maybe
be
an infinity mirror or something.
Well, I'm thinking I have the base built where it's I can put like an OLED screen or a LCD screen underneath, so I could actually do like a
looking down
far down ships going in, all that kind of stuff.
Incredible. Wow.
But yeah, this is kind of a journey that started with a $25 rack walking through a store, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, that looks like a Death Star future thing.
And how long ago was that? How long was this?
That was 15 years ago, and then this I built 10 years ago. And the only interesting thing with that was I had again, it was a math project, so I taped together with just like metal tape. So I'd forgotten about that when I started restoring it this spring, because it had like 10 years of dust on it, but it literally was sat over the hole for 10 years with a drone platform and a 4K video drone sitting on top, and it never collapsed.
That's somewhat appropriate, I think.
It was cool seeing the drone sitting on top of it. Yeah, I have some pictures of that somewhere. But yeah, so a lot of it's just layered and like I said, I got to magnetize everything.
Yeah. In the process of kind of refurbishing it and bringing it back out here, are you reinvigorated by the project? You feel like you're going to
it actually feels like it's closer to being now that the surface and the base was pretty much all done. I'm going to retrofit the base with like more modern LED lighting, things like that. So it's
well, what a journey, and thank you so much for bringing it here to Wonderfest, Kevin.
Appreciate it.
Such a cool project. I've never seen, you see a lot of ships, you see towers.
It's a different take from the diorama side.
Much.
It's not so much about the parts, it's about the how can I scale this in 3D, and everything has to line up perfectly.
Yeah, and I'm getting the thrill that I feel when I saw that scene, when they go into the Death Star 2.
The first thing I did when I got this part working is, you stick your head up through there, you stick your head down through there. It's like, honey, take a picture,
You can still have fun with math problems.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, math is good, people. It's,
Kevin, thank you so much.
Appreciate
it's a
you,
pleasure
man.
to meet you.